So I love Game of Thrones, the characters, the story, the politics. But probably the thing I love the most is the world. Ever since watching the show, I've always wanted to be in the Game of Thrones universe, to be walking through those gorgeous valleys and to be looking at the deep blue oceans. Separately, I love maps. Maps are such a great way to convey information because they can both be incredibly informative and also show off the beauty of the world. Combining these two passions, I'm going to create 3 different maps of Westeros, the mainland in the Game of Thrones world. First one is going to be fairly simple and just show off the region divides and the important cities and castles in Westeros. The second map will be building off of the first one, where I'll be enhancing the waterways and adding emblems for each of the regions. The third map is going to be the biggest and most complex one, where I am going to be creating a topographical map of Westeros that mainly focuses on the natural beauty of the land. I'm going to be creating all these maps through laser cutting. Laser cutting is a process that uses a laser to cut and etch through different materials, creating a beautiful final product. I have been laser cutting for over 5 years and it is my favorite way to make anything. However, many students at TPZ aren't using laser cutters at all, and that makes me incredibly sad. With that, there are 2 different laser cutters at TPZ. There's the Glowforge, which is the more basic laser cutter in the design labs, and the Trotec, which is our industrial size laser cutter that's in the fab lab. However, there's some confusion on what projects should be made on the Glowforge and what projects should be made on the Trotec. The goal of these maps is to show when each laser cutter should be used, and also to inspire students and show what's possible with these incredible machines. All right, let's make some maps. To start this project, I couldn't immediately go into designing. I first needed to do some research. I looked at a whole bunch of maps that were already made of Westeros to try and find what's needed or important for my map. However, a difficulty is I'm trying to create a map of a place that doesn't actually exist. So each reference map has their own way of viewing the world and unique style of showing what is important or not. I eventually got 2 different maps that when paired together give a very good showing of what are the prominent places in Westeros and the basics of the land design. So I booted up Adobe Illustrator and got to work. I mainly use the pen tool to design these maps. By simply clicking and then clicking and dragging, you can create as if you are using an actual pen. Alright, I have my design. Now time to get it over to the Glowforge. There are 2 different functions I'm using for laser cutting. The first one is just cutting, which as you may have guessed, cuts through the wood. The second one is called scoring, which allows me to etch the wood using only lines. Scoring is very fast, which allows the whole map to be completed in just 15 minutes. I'm really happy with how this map turned out. Even though it's simple, all the important places are easily visible and it shows where the regions divide. Well, finish the basic one, on to map 2. For the second map, I want to take the first one and then add a lot more details and elements to it. I'm going to include the islands of Westeros, add more emphasis on the water, and for each region, add an emblem that represents it to add more beauty to the land. It was a really interesting process designing the symbols for each region.
These symbols can mean so much to a region. One example is in the north. Their symbol is a direwolf. The direwolf is the symbol of the house of the Starks who are from the north. There's something so real about the north being wolves. It's like fierce independence and inner strength. I feel there's something really beautiful of looking at a map and seeing, oh wow, these are the people that are wolves. These are the people that will defend their homes from invaders no matter what, no matter who they are. These are the people that have the strongest loyalty to the north, to this place that they call home.
Now that the design is done, I'm gonna send it over to the Glowforge to see how long it's gonna take. 3 hours and 24 minutes, God, that is way too long. Part of the reason this is taking so much longer than the first map is because instead of using scoring for detailing, I'm using a process called engraving, which can etch any design into the material, not just lines. This allows for a lot more customization, but also it takes a lot longer for the laser cutter to do. However, that's how we have more than just the Glowforge at TPZ. Let's head over to the Trotec, where this over 3-hour job will only take 20 minutes. I feel this map is a really good display of the important information in Westeros. The engravement creates a lot more depth and makes the water seem a lot more real. Islands are also a nice touch so that all of Westeros is shown. But most importantly, the regions are super clear, and the added emblems gives each region its own sense of uniqueness and identity. These first two maps are great and give a great showing of the informational aspect of Westeros. Though let's see what happens when instead of focusing on information, we take the map to a whole new level. While these first two maps were great, they were still fairly basic. For the third map, I want to try and create something truly beautiful. I'm going to create a topographical map of Westeros that makes you feel like you're in the world. A topographical map shows the different elevation layers and basically makes a 3D model of what the mountains, valleys, and oceans would look like. Immediately, I had some difficulty, as I couldn't just look up what the height of the mountains were in Westeros, because Westeros doesn't exist. This led to me recreating every single topographical layer by hand, which took a little longer than expected. This was an incredibly interesting process for me, as I both had to be very historically accurate to follow the reference maps I was using, but also be very artistic to let the natural beauty of the land show. I'm doing some testing, and I'm trying to figure out a good way of how to make the water, which is acrylic, fit in to the land, which is wood. And I came up with this really cool system of the laser cutter cuts at an angle, and if you angle both pieces together, it means it can fit inside one direction and not go out the other. So if we have this example of the land, then we have the water, it fits in one way, and then I keep pushing it and it doesn't go through, it stays there. Laser cutting is just so cool. Designing this map, I really wanted each region to feel very distinct. And I think a cool way of showing that is for all of them to be cut out of a different piece of wood. This will make a very visual showing of where each region lies, and also having it be multicolored will be a really cool aesthetic for the map. For the water of Westeros, I found this really cool water design, and my thought is to get some clear acrylic and then use our industrial size printer, the JFX, to print the water design on the back side of the clear acrylic so that it's actually below sea level, which will make a really cool feeling of depth in the water. After honestly more hours than I can count, the design was finally done. However, I did all of this work in a graphic design program and have no idea what the map actually looks like cut out of wood. And for a few weeks, I just had the files on my computer, making up excuses because I was scared it was gonna look terrible. However, my friends and coworkers at TPZ believed in me even when I didn't fully believe in myself. And that gave me the perseverance to create this final map. Let's start with
was gluing on the first layer. So you gotta start with beyond the wall. And now we have the biggest piece. This is the north, and it's just gonna fit in perfectly. Oh God, that is just so satisfying. And that's what good design does. I spent so much time trying to perfectly align the wood and the water, so this process takes this quick. Oh my God, I love this map. But this is where the Vale and the Erie is. This is gonna become a huge area of cliffs, which is gonna be gorgeous right next to the water. This is definitely my favorite region. These are the Riverlands. Look at that fit perfectly in between the water. All right, we have the Westerlands. Now we have the Crownlands. This is where the throne in the Game of Thrones comes from. And the thing I find so funny about that is the Crownlands are so unassuming. And I really appreciate part of the irony, where just most of the show goes on, is by far the least interesting place in the entire map. This is the Reach. Now we have the Stormlands. At the very southern part of the map, we have Dorne. Now probably my favorite part of the entire map is the small piece of clear acrylic. And this goes in the most important spot in the entire map, the Wall. The Wall is by far the most prominent landmark in Westeros, really brings everything together.
Seeing this map is still an awe-inspiring experience for me. I have just put in so much time and effort and love, and it exceeds my expectations. It's just so beautiful, and the land feels real. Like, you can see the mountains, you can see where the topography changes, you can see where the water is pushing through the land, making new areas. And it's still kind of crazy to me that I made this. I feel like I grew in my abilities as a maker. There's a large leap. You have an idea, and how do you practically create something like that? I feel I leaped into the unknown. It's like, I'm gonna make this Game of Thrones map, having no idea how to practically do it. And to be able to come out the other side, having created something that I'm so proud of, that I think looks so incredible and amazing, is just a wonderful feeling. And now I feel I can design anything now that I've designed this. I feel like I succeeded the goals that I set out for this project. The 3 different maps show which projects are applicable for the Glowforge, which projects could be made in either the Glowforge or the Trotec, or which projects, such as this map, can only be made in the Trotec. Another goal I set out for this project is to inspire students to laser cut more. And I've had all these 3 maps around TPZ for a little while now, and I've seen so many students get their curiosities piqued and be like, what is that? How did you make it? And then start to incorporate some laser cutting into their design flow. This is a slow start into getting more students comfortable and seeing what's possible with the laser cutters. If I could have you take away one thing, it's that you can do it. If you have a vision, if you have a dream, if you have a goal, it might take a lot of steps and you're gonna make so many mistakes along the way. But you can create something and do something incredible. So many of the processes and ideas and learnings made for this map, I had no idea how to do beforehand. And then I just started trying, and I made so many mistakes. And I kept doing so many stupid things that I did not put in this video. But all of those mistakes led to learning. I just got that learning and kept building off of it and building off of it and building off of it and kept reaching new milestones and kept getting new footholds. And together, all of that led me to create this map. Like, it's so cool. And that was the journey of this Game of Thrones map project. I hope you enjoyed. I wish you luck in your next making adventure.